To a YouTube channel near you.
Hello, and welcome to Spiritual Street Talk with Althea Jacob. I'm Althea, and I am delighted that you are joining us for tonight's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, it's been a crazy kind of week. Before I get into anything else, what I want to do is a shout out of love and prayers for Mary and Chris Grizzly, who are the heart and soul of the Bigfoot Network. I want to make sure that we acknowledge all that they have done to create the infrastructure so hosts like myself can come on and share our thoughts and answer your questions. So for any of you that are new, and just joining us for the first time. Hello, Stephanie, you're a first timer. Welcome. What this show is all about is trying to look at day-to-day issues and problems in the world, but looking at it from a spiritual lens. And the spiritual street talk is literally, how can we look at what our soul purpose is, what makes us happy, what brings us joy, what brings us peace as the underlying current for the decisions we make, for the actions we take in the day-to-day world. The structure of my show is that for the first 5 or 10 minutes, I basically will talk about the week and thoughts that have occurred to me and topics that I just want to share some basic information. Then I will share some messages from Spirit. I pulled some oracle cards and angel cards and tarot cards, and I'll go through those and share those meanings. And what's really kind of spooky, cool, and fun is that no matter when you're tuning in, whether you're watching live tonight or whether you tune in tomorrow, next week, or next year, or sometime way, way in the future, whenever you're hearing these messages from Spirit that come up, they will resonate with you. It is just, I can't explain how or why it happens. I just know that it does. Pardon me, I have a hair here that's driving me crazy. So I know that it's really interesting that usually at least one of the messages that come through will make sense to you, will inspire you, will ring true in your heart, will comfort you in some way. And I'm just so delighted that Spirit works that way, and we get those kind of messages, and it's kind of like we get what we need to hear just when we need to hear it. And so that's always kind of fun. And then after I've done that, I pretty much open up the show to anybody who's on live, and they can type questions in the chat. You can put a topic in there. If you do so, type it all in capital letters, because it makes it a little easier for it to stand out in the chat. Because as you know, there's a lot of times there's activity going on there, and different guests are saying hi to each other and sharing messages, which I think is really fun. Again, pardon me. And for me to see the questions you want me to answer, or energies you want me to tune into, or topics you'd like me to discuss, please do put them in caps in the chat. So that's pretty much the structure of the show. It's meant to be topical, to answer whatever questions you have, to discuss the spiritual needs of the day, and also to put that spiritual frame on it. It's the complementary show to one that I'll be starting probably in springtime, or maybe next month or two, depending on how things go. Maybe March would be a good launch date. And that's going to be called Grace in the Grind. And it's kind of going to be flipped around, where it's going to really focus on the life coaching tips and the day-to-day, how to get through your day with a little bit of the spiritual focus. This show is much more soul-oriented, spiritual focus, and making sure that's the barometer that we use in our day-to-day life. So I kind of hit both ends of it. I've been in the metaphysical field professionally since I was about 18. I started doing psychic fairs and all way back in the day. And I am now, oh my God, this year I'm going to be 64. Holy mackerel. I'm 63 and a half and 3/4 or something now. So I've been doing it a really long time. And I love it. It's my passion. It's my soul's purpose to bring information through, to download and share it. I've written a couple of books. There's 2 out on Amazon. One is called The Creative Not Now. And these are life coaching tips and hints to basically help you in areas of finance, your health, your relationships, spirituality, and time. It's a really tiny, quick, I call it a bathroom read. It's just, you can get through it in one sitting, depending on how long it takes you in there. It's only $5 on Amazon. And then the other book that I have out there is called A Portal to Potential. And this is a book meant to encourage and empower you, to help you live your life to your fullest potential, to help you know what to ponder and questions to think about, to give your life a little bit more meaning, more peace, more joy and love. It has uplifting passages, some wisdom, some questions to ponder, and it's all 90% of it is channeled. There's a couple of pieces where I explain a few things, but the majority of the book is information that came through from Spirit, and it's on Amazon as well. The Creative Not Now is $5. This is $10. I try to make everything very reasonable because to me, it's important to get the information out there. I love to teach. I love to heal. I love to share. I'm a talker, and boy, when I found out about podcasts, I'm like, woohoo! I found my forum. And like I said, God bless Mary and Chris Grizzly for creating this place and helping me. They helped me set everything up. They taught me how to do things. And so I wouldn't be able to share messages tonight as well, or at all if it wasn't for their help. So again, shout out to them. And thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate that. So as far as this week, it's been a tale of two sides, right, of life. There were so many challenges and stuff I had to overcome. I had a generator for my whole house and property that the day before the ice storm came, all of a sudden wasn't working, had a red light on it. So I had to call and have it serviced. I had to get my propane tank filled. I have my freeze dryer is down in the middle of a batch. It gave me a vacuum seal error. Stuff like that was just going on. Oh, and I found out I had no healthcare insurance because the company that I had used in last year, 2025, apparently dropped everybody in my county. And I never got a letter or anything. And when I went to pick up a prescription, the pharmacist said, "You have no health care coverage." I'm like, what? So I was in a bit of a scramble to go sign up and make sure that got rectified as soon as possible. So there was all this like stressful, crazy, like have to fix it and deal with it stuff. But, that's life, right? These things just pop out of the blue. I wasn't planning on spending days on the phone or online trying to figure things out, or spending all this money to have repairmen come, or filling up the propane tanks so the facility can have heat. That's kind of important. But it's like, oh gosh, that's low too. So all these little things and big things were coming up. But then on the other side of it, there were all these blessings that came into my life. People that were showing up to help me with things. The fact that I could get a hold of the servicemen that I needed and the propane company timely. And so those kind of things I recognize, like, wow, okay. The fact I have the money to pay for those services, even though they were out of the blue and they weren't like a budgeted kind of thing, I have great gratitude for that. And I made a new connection with two different people. I do some auction flipping stuff to make some income on the side. And I found a new auction house. And when I went there, I really connected with their auction manager, who's a fellow rock hound and kind of spiritual person. And then the person that owns the whole thing and schedules drop-offs and consignments. And, he's just running the whole thing. I felt like I had met an old soul. There was just something that connected. And I know that we're going to be friends. I love when those kind of surprises come. It's almost like, when you meet somebody that's in your soul circle, that you've come down together, and when you meet them and you just feel instantly like this, oh, I like you, I trust you, I want to get to know you better, I already feel like I'm your friend, even though I just met you. Have you had those kind of experiences? Well, I had that this week, right? And to me, as an extrovert and as somebody who is recovering from an unwanted and unexpected divorce a couple of years ago, to all of a sudden have a couple of new friends in my life, and people that I felt like, wow, I really connected with them and I liked their energy. You know, I read energy. So I'm like, oh, I like this person. I like this person. To have them show up in my life. And I don't know, how much it'll be above and beyond the professional relationship we'll have, but it's, oh, but it's just a blessing to acknowledge and be grateful for, because yes, Stephanie, I agree with you. We don't always know when our soul is going to orchestrate these kind of things. And so we can be fumbling and bumbling around for a while, feeling lonely, feeling challenges, feeling like, oh my gosh, when am I going to have my posse come to me? When's my tribe going to gather and all that energy come together so we can accomplish things together? And we just don't know. So two other things around this whole week that I wanted to share. One was I had a spooky cool thing happen with a message from my father, who's in spirit. So I was in the middle of making all these phone calls and feeling overwhelmed with all these unexpected fires to put out, so to speak, and things I had to deal with that were not scheduled. And I'm an organized person. I like to kind of get things done in certain orders and certain days. So I find a nickel laying in the floor in my bedroom, kind of between my bed and my dresser. And I'm like, I don't carry change. I don't have change in my pockets. If I have a little fanny pack I use most of the time, and a pocketbook I use when I'm going out. And, I have change purses in there. So I'm like, where did this nickel come from? This is weird. So I just took it and I put it up on my dresser. And so I'm going through, continuing fighting the fires and making the phone calls and clearing up things on emails. And so then I go down to have some lunch. And as I sit down and I'm watching some TV as I'm having lunch, I look down on the floor, and next to my dog's Flash, his dog bed is kind of in the middle of the living room from me, so he can kind of watch TV while I'm watching TV and be close to me. Between me and the dog bed, there was that nickel again. And I was like, what? How did that nickel get from the dresser here? So I pick it up. And as I pick it up, I hear my father's voice in my head laughing. And I haven't honestly connected with his energy that strongly in many, many years. And so to me, he was always the person who took care of fighting the fires in the house, so to speak. And, he was the one that paid the bills and dealt with any of the hiccups that came up, and, called the repairman when things broke if he couldn't fix it himself. And so I felt like there was a little kinship energy happening there with him, dropping that nickel or manifesting that nickel so I could find it. And then the very next day is when I met these two new friends, or people who I believe are going to be new friends, old friends that are going to become new friends, I think, at the auction house. And I felt like that was part of the continuation, because my dad, he's the one I take after, being very extroverted and social and loving people. That was his nature as well. And so, him knowing that I was feeling a little lonely and wanting, good quality friends in my life. And then me finding that nickel, it not only was Dad's helping me put out these fires and fix these problems that are unexpectedly happening at home and in my life, but he also led me to this opportunity to make some new friends. And so I just had such tremendous gratitude. And when I went to the auction house, one of the things that I found, my pendulum just fell on the floor, if that's okay. One of the things that I found and bid on and won was a Sumerian cuneiform tablet. Now, obviously it's a replica, but it's the way they make the replica is they take castings of the original, and then this thing it's heavy. It's like a brick. And it has all this energy on it. And I thought, how cool was this? Because we've been talking a lot about, I'll put it up closer so maybe y'all can, well, let's see. Can you see it? Yeah, you can kind of see it that way. And the markings on both sides it's kind of cool. And we've been talking a lot about the ancient aliens and about, some of the ancient cultures that talked about the star people and the people that came from the sky and the teachers that came from the stars. And so I felt like that was another kind of wink, wink, nod, nod from spirit, that there was going to be something powerful happening with either the relationships or the people, or just this whole situation of being connected to them was going to be fitting in this next phase of my life, especially when I found that Sumerian tablet there. I'm like, I've been looking at auction stuff for well over a year at 5 different auction houses, around online ones as well as in-person ones. And I've never even seen anything close to that. So that was, to me, one of those signs as well. Like, yep, this is where you're supposed to be right now. These are people you're supposed to meet and get to know. So that's the other thing I wanted to point out about how important it is to follow the signs, right? Pay attention to the messages when they pop up. Okay, so now what I'd like to do, speaking of signs and messages, I want to go through, okay, and Stephanie, let's see, so I'm going to move to all aliens. Yeah, she's talking about where she lives. There's lots of aliens and people that believe in aliens. We've talked a lot on other shows about, and this network has a lot of specialty shows that talk about the interdimensional beings and those that come to help us, help our planet, help us individually, the interdimensional portals that open up and what comes through. In my belief, it's mostly positive beings that want to make a positive impact and help us. They're benevolent interdimensional beings. And whether you call them angels, saints, loved ones in spirit, aliens, whatever you want to call them, they come here and manifest in our plane of existence in order to assist in some way. And so having some openness and gratitude about that, I think is pretty cool. Okay, so the messages from spirit tonight. The first oracle card that came up, everybody, is universal love. And this says, open your heart to the world, and light will fill your life regardless of the outcomes. Universal love is the essence of life. Embrace it in everything and everyone. So, following on to what we were just saying about these other beings, one of the things that we can do in our prayers and in our healing practices is we can take in a deep breath, feel the energy and intention of love building up in our heart. And as we share that with the out breath, not only bless those in your immediate circle, your home, your community, your state, your country, whatnot, bless the entire planet, but also go upwards and bless all of the universal beings, all of the conscious, sentient beings that exist. Send your love to them in whatever dimension they reside, right? And they will feel that love, because most of these beings are from a dimension where it is subtler in the frequency. It's a higher frequency, but they can feel that love coming to them. So in your prayers, not only bless your immediate family and friends, but send it out to the rest of the world, rest of the planet, and then all of those universal interdimensional beings as well. And you'll feel a bounce back of warmth and gratitude and acknowledgement of almost like a thumbs up, like, thank you. We love to feel that, and that's, I think, one of the ways that they know that our culture is evolving enough that we are wanting to share love, healing, and beneficial energy, benevolent energy right back into the universe. We're not just these like sponges, take. We want to share and give as well. Okay, so that's what struck me with that universal love card. The next card that came up was the child card. This is one of the angel cards. And it says, you care deeply about children and they respond to your love. All children, including your own inner child, require love, affection, and attention. Your angels can clear and open your heart and schedule. Oh, open your heart and schedule. Okay. So that you can give more time and energy to the children who need you, including your own inner child. So when I saw this, I don't have children of my own. I've taught many children over the years, and that's part of the legacy that we have when we're teachers, right? We touch the lives of others. But I think all of us can resonate with the inner child and how important it is to honor that part of ourselves. For the men, the little boy part of you that's insecure, you may be the most confident, powerful, successful man on the planet, but your little boy still needs to play. He still needs to have time to explore nature. Think back to when you were a kid, right? And going and, like, playing with the salamanders and going fishing and exploring all that sense of adventure that you had. You need to stay in touch with that in different ways. And for the women, your inner child, the little girl, that's the princess dancing or the tomboy climbing the tree, right? It's the little girl who dreams the dreams of whatever you dream of, right? Likes to get up, get dressed up and dance and be free and sing and play, right? So you need to honor that part of you, because many of us as adults, we don't make that time very often, right? Okay, twice a year we'll go on vacation for a week, or 1 week, once a year for 2 weeks. And, okay, we'll play. But we have to give ourselves that regular opportunity for creative expression and for healing and for paying attention to, well, what does that inner child feel about it? If we're making major changes in our life, have we reassured that inner child, like, hey, I've thought this out. We got it covered. We're going to be just fine, right? That kind of partnership energy. It's important to share that. The next card, angel card we got, and I love this deck, it's so pretty, was self-worth. And self-worth says, self-worth bestows a sense of confidence, expectation of success, and the ability to love. Decide on clear boundaries and limits and firmly decline to let others step over them or to manipulate you in any way. You will earn respect. When you value yourself, you become more open and friendly and slow to take offense and quick to forgive. Remind yourself that you are likable and lovable. Do not let others press your buttons. Stand tall and confident. With true self-worth, you radiate a golden aura, which enfolds others and makes them feel good too. Ask your angels to step into your aura to guide and help you, to feel confident and worthwhile. Yeah, self-worth, that's a biggie for a lot of people. And I think for many years, I never felt good enough. And I used that feeling to drive me to try to become better, to get more education, to have more experiences, to help more people, to kind of check off the check boxes in my inner checklist of what will make me feel worthwhile, what will make me feel like I'm a good person. And as I matured in life, it came to me that we are all worthy of love. Our self-worth is not defined by what we do, but it's defined by who we innately are as sons and daughters of the creator of this universe. We are spiritual children of, whether you want to consider it God or the source or the great guru in the sky, however you want to consider it, there is someone that created this opportunity for us from our spiritual selves to manifest onto this physical plane. And just by virtue of the courage we had to leave the spiritual realm and come here to this learning place, this physical plane where things are hard, life is challenging, There are all kinds of lessons to be learned, right? By the very fact that you're here, you are worth the love, respect, and connection and the happiness and anything that you truly want and need. You deserve to have that. You are lovable. You are loving. You are love. The spirit of love is in you and came from, because we all came from that divine spark of love. So remembering that can really help us not feel like I'm not good enough unless I check off all these boxes. No, what really makes a difference, guys, is, did you make somebody smile today? Were you kind? Did you ease somebody's burden? Did you have a positive impact on the lives of others? Did you enrich and protect and bring peace and joy to your friends and family, as well as to yourself? Okay, those are the things that are important, right? Spending the time with the people you love, responding to the needs of others that are in your sphere. Those are the kinds of things that you're like, hey, those are the good check boxes. Those are the things that when you go to bed that night and you're laying there, you just feel good about your day. You're like, wow, I feel really good about what I accomplished. Now, the next 3 cards that I chose were tarot cards. And hi, Chris, welcome. And thank you. The first, I usually do past, present, future as it relates to now, right? And the challenges of the now. So the first card is the past. And this is the 9 of Swords. And the 9 of Swords is about grieving, mourning, feeling sad about what we've lost or what we didn't accomplish. It's all the woulda, coulda, shouldas, right? And I'm guilty of this as much as anybody else. I can honestly say in the last week or so, did a lot of reflections on the past year, the new year starting, putting out the projections for what I want. But there were a lot of tears that I shed. And there were moments where I was just feeling that sense of loss and the feelings of, this feels so unfair that I'm here at this point in my life. I'm a good person. Why did all this crappy stuff happen to me, right? I had those little tantrums of spirit. I think even you can be extremely evolved in a lot of ways, but you still have to deal with the quicksand and the muck that's in the day-to-day life, right? And so this card says, yep, it's okay. You can grieve about what you lost in the past. And whether it's lost youth or flexibility or strength or a sharpness of mind or loved ones, pets, people, jobs, cars, whatever, opportunities that went by you, the things that you always wanted to do, but you just quite didn't get around to. There's a lot of that feeling of loss that people are feeling coming up to this time of year. And then there's also, this is the now, the Hermit, this sense of the winter of hunkering down, pulling back, really working on yourself, cleaning your house, working on your projects, but also just hunkering down with those you love and feeling safe and just kind of going, it's like this rest phase. But, the Hermit is also the card that has the in-breath, out-breath of, I retreat to my cave to connect with spirit without the distractions of everything happening in the world. It's when I get the inspiration and the information for the next book, or I hear the music for the song I'm going to compose, or I paint the painting that I'm going to share at the next gallery or expo, right? Or I get the great new idea for a patent I want to build for some invention, or the next business idea for who I want to partner with in my business life, or the next retreat topic I want to have. It's in that quiet of that retreat, of that hermit phase, that all that comes and starts to take shape. And the out-breath of the Hermit is bringing it back into the world. And that leads us to the future, which in this case is the Queen of Pentacles. And this is a glorious card. It's a card that talks about travel, luxury, having what you need, manifesting all you want in the world. And more importantly, it talks about balance. Whenever there's a pentacle, and the Ace of Pentacles is the epitome of that card, right? That she embodies that, it's all about that balance of the money, the relationship, the health, the time, the spiritual connection to all that is, that feeling of I'm part of something greater than self, and I'm aware of and developing my spiritual gifts and having that communion, that connection with spirit in some way. And so that progression is really what we go through as we leave the old year behind. We hunker down a little bit to get our downloads and instructions, and then we come back out into the world feeling rested and recharged, feeling balanced, and going out and bringing our bounty, bringing our gifts, sharing our knowledge, our experiences, and creating what we need to. So you may find that a lot of you right now are like cleaning things up and organizing and brainstorming and planting the seeds for projects and interactions with others that you want to have in the springtime. And it's a really natural process. And it's kind of like you ride this wave of, okay, I really can't go out and about, in the winter, right? We're all kind of in our caves and our homes hunkering down, especially if you live in any of the northern hemispheres. You'll go out a little bit, maybe to do some winter sports or, take care of your errands and chores and stuff. But for the most part, we spend much more time in our homes in the wintertime. And so that there's this opportunity to transform the space around us as we're working on transforming ourselves. I also cracked open both books just to see, like, okay, what little information from each of my books I could share tonight. And the first one actually came about relationships. It says, when determining if your relationships are in balance, you want to make sure that there is a give and take, that gratitude and appreciation are expressed, and that the desires and needs of both parties are being considered by the other. Sometimes, depending on the nature of the relationship, it is natural for one party to give a little bit more than the other. Let's say the balance is more like 60-40, give to take. But if you notice that in your relationships, the ratio is slipping, and the ratio is more like 70-30 or 80-20 or even 90-10, you need to seriously evaluate what is going on. If it is way out of balance with you doing the vast majority of the giving and putting in the effort, simply stop. Either they will start picking up the slack, bringing the relationship closer to balance, or the relationship will wither on its own. There is no need for grandstanding or creating drama with a big confrontational event. Ending unbalanced relationships will free up more of your time and energy to give back to the relationships that give back to you. That is a big lesson that I needed to learn personally, which is, I guess, why I got channeled through the spirit for me in that book that I'm sharing with others. I gave people in my life a lot of room and rope, and I made excuses for bad behaviors. But that was also tied back to that whole self-worth thing. I didn't feel necessarily worthy. And so I was like, okay, I'll take the breadcrumbs you're willing to give me. I'll talk myself into how that's enough. That's fine. But it wasn't fine, And as I matured in life and spirit, and I realized, wait a minute, I deserve to have somebody in my life, as you do, to give back to you in ways that matter to you, to bring joy into your life, to cherish you, to care about you, to express gratitude to you when you interact and you do things for them, right? It's that give and take. So it can be a little out of balance in some ways, but if it's constantly one-sided and you're the one putting in all the effort, I like the message that came through. It's just stop and watch what happens. You don't have to, like it said, you don't have to have a big confrontation, a big drama event. It's like, you just stop. You just pull your energy back. And if it dies a natural death, so be it. Go on, because what'll happen is now you freed up that time and space and energy that was devoted to that person. Now you're free to see who else comes into your life that's more appropriate with the give and take for you. Okay. And then in the Portal to Potential, I cracked the book open and I got the section that talks about sacred journey. And it's goes, what hallowed halls we traverse as we explore the universal mind. The fractals of consciousness swirl with delight as they create and recreate the patterns of our lives. Energy flows where consciousness goes. It's a truth more profound than you know. Be at peace and have fun. As your spirit explores, all your collective consciousness has done. The part of this that really jumps out of me is that reminder that energy flows where consciousness goes. Even in some of the scriptures, like the Bible, it says, as you think, so you are. And you're like, right? Energy goes where consciousness flows. Whatever you think about contributes to the experiences in your reality, in your piece of the quantum field. Your thoughts impact your energy, your mood, your actions, and reactions. And so the more that you think about and learn how to have discipline in your mind of how you're going to react, because, we've talked about this before. You cannot necessarily impact or change what's happening in the world around you, what happens to you from others. You can influence it maybe, but the most powerful thing we can do is be in control of how we react to what's coming our way. Do we choose peace or drama? Do we choose love or hate? Do we choose to forgive or to hang on to a grudge and have anger? Right? We have this choice. Do we look at something and say, okay, I don't quite understand why they did this. I'm not going to assume the worst. I'm going to stay as neutral as I can until I fully understand the story, until I understand more about what happened. Because very often, I used to be this way as well, and I know people who are, we're very knee-jerk reactive. Something happens, boom, we react, right? And so what this little bit of spiritual advice is saying is, don't be so quick to judge and react. And in fact, don't judge. Just observe and react in a way that's in alignment with the highest expression of your soul, with the you that you're becoming, even though you may not have manifested that person totally yet. It's for you to be the best possible version of you, no matter what is happening around you. It's almost like I remember watching, there was one of these martial arts movies, and I'm not sure which black belt master was in it. I don't remember the actor, but he was playing. But this guy is kind of going through town and going into these seedy places, and like nobody messes with him. And he, people want to engage with him and fight, and he basically just kind of doesn't engage. And they're like, he has this confidence, and he's like, I'm not going to get sucked into your drama. And I feel confident in my ability to handle myself, and I don't need to hurt you in the process. So I'm just not going to engage. I have nothing to prove to you. And many times in our lives, we get into a pattern where we feel like we have something we have to prove to others. And that's what gets us sucked into the drama. If instead we claim that birthright of worthiness, and we know we are part of this amazing universe, and we send love to ourselves, to our inner child, to all sentient beings on whatever dimensional level they're at, we'll feel this sense of calm regardless of what's going on around us, right? Obviously, if there's a true emergency going on around you, Don't sit and meditate, react to it, right? If there's a flood, bail the water, put up the sandbags, get the hell out, right? If there's a fire or a tornado, go to your shelters, find a safe place, all right? So, if obviously there's those kinds of things. But then how do you react after those disasters? That's up to how you think about it, right? Do you look at, I lost everything, and you stay stuck in the grieving, mourning, loss, which is very natural to be in for a phase. But how soon do you allow yourself to heal to the point where you go, what's my new life going to look at? How do I go forward? So this, now what? Where do I take my next steps? And that applies whether you lost a relationship, you lost a job, you lost a loved one, you lost a part of yourself because of the situations of life. You have the ability to reclaim your spirit and to stand firm in the face of whatever you've lost and make sense of it. You take the lessons, you take the love, and then you move on. You don't stay stuck in that quicksand. Of course, be real in the moment, right? You don't all of a sudden go, oh, I've lost my house. Oh, well, on we go. No, you can grieve appropriately, right? It's natural to be angry. It's natural to be upset. It's natural to question why my house got hit by the tornado and not the one next door, right? All these things that like race through your mind, and hopefully one of the key things that race through your mind is gratitude that you are alive, and that hopefully your loved ones, your pets, your loved ones, your family members survived and were not gravely injured, right? Gratitude for that first. And then that gratitude that there's support of the community, of your family, of your friends going forward. One of the things that people have shared after they've survived, and actually we're up on the 1 year anniversary right now when I'm doing this episode of when they had those horrible wildfires in California that took all those lives and devastated huge areas of California. And they were talking to a few people, interviewing them, and you could just see that sense of resilience and that gratitude that they survived. And they said, I was never somebody who ever asked for or received help from others. I was always the one who gave to others. I was always the doer, right, going around. And it was humbling to be in a position where I needed help, but it was also a beautiful, loving, gratitude expanding, heart expanding feeling and experience to be on the receiving end of the prayers, the outpouring of love, the tangible support that came. It just uplifted me because I knew I was part of something greater than me. I was part of everybody. And this community of love responded back to me. I no longer felt alone. And I didn't feel that obligation that I always had to be there and do it for others, that we were in this together and helping. And when I saw that interview, I almost started crying. Actually, I think I did cry because it just moved me so deeply. And I thought, how wise, how profound, this person had reflected back. And they were like, well, the things are replaceable. Yeah, there's a few cherished memorabilia things that were there that are gone that I can't replace. However, my family's intact. I'm safe. And I was able to rebuild and do it in a way that I felt supported and surrounded by love, which I've never felt in my life before because I've never had anything bad like this happen or this challenging happen in my life before. So if you're going through a specific challenge in your life, and it doesn't have to be as devastating as losing your home in a fire or losing a loved one to a disaster. It could be any major challenge you're going through. Each of us perceives the life around us in different ways. And it can be a major devastation to you to have, to lose a friend who's been a best friend for years, or to have a pet pass on that's been your constant companion for years. It's natural to go into that sadness and grief and darkness, but you don't stay in that quicksand. Know that you have help. Because you survived all those other challenges in the past, you're resilient. You're a survivor. That there's help available to you and that people do care about you. They love you. They want you to be happy. They're there to help you. They've been in that quicksand before, so they can throw you the rope because they know exactly where that rope is tied to the tree, because people can fall into that same darn pit time and time again. But they'll help you out. And they'll show you where the rope is so that if you fall in the next time, you'll know where it is to reach it and get yourself out, or you'll be able to help somebody else if you're walking along and see them in that same pit of despair, in that quicksand that you were. It's natural to feel alone at the end of a year when you reflect back, like the cards were saying about the losses, but don't hang on to that. That's a choice, right? So like I said, what Spirit was encouraging us, learn the lessons. You could try to figure out why things happened. So was there a lesson to be learned, to be brought forward? Bring the love forward, but leave the rest and get back on track and move on. One of the best questions one of my life coaches ever asked me and instilled in me and encouraged me to ask in the face of any situation is those 4 words. So this, now what? It gets you out of that backtracking, trying to make sense of it, figuring it out. It's like, yeah, there'll be time for that later. I can ponder on all that later. But what's most important in this moment is figuring out what's next. Where do I go? What do I do? What do I have to do in this moment to get where I need to go or to get back on track? And so it's really important. It's really important to make a conscious choice to think about the things you can and the ways you can. Okay, so we have a question here from Pancho asking, where is Bigfoot Outlaw Grizzly Chris? As far as I know, as far as physically, he and Mary are in Kentucky. That's where they live. And as far as being on shows, he has been more in the background instead of like co-producing and co-hosting with hosts. He will be in the background on some of the shows to kind of kick it off, make sure the host is doing okay. And then, we'll have our show. And then after the show's done, he'll upload the streams and do all that kind of stuff. As far as I know, I'm not sure if he's actually hosting a show. And one of the things I've suggested to Chris and Mary that we somehow put together a schedule of all of the shows and the hosts that are on it on the Bigfoot Network, on say like, here's the night. So, if you were looking for me, Althea, you would see that, okay, Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central, I'm doing Spiritual Street Talk. And on Monday mornings at 8 o'clock Eastern time, I'm sorry, I said Central before. It's Eastern time both. It's 7 p.m. Eastern for this show. And the intention for the next show is going to be 8 a.m. Eastern time for the Grace and the Grind. So if you were looking for that, you could see it. If you were looking for Chris, you could, scan through this table and it would say, oh, he's going to be live on this show on this night or this show on this night. So that's a long answer to say, I honestly don't know, Pancho, what show he might be doing now. You might be able to kind of go on to one of the chat boards or Facebook page and, kind of scan there or ask the question or message him, hey, I want to, interact with you on a live show. Where can I find you? What time is it on live? And I'm sure he'll be able to tell you. But I personally, I'm sorry, I don't know that right now. I'm hoping as we kind of get into the year, we're going to try to have a place, a more centralized place where any host can find where other hosts are and what their shows are and what time, and whether it's a live show where you can ask questions, or whether it's a more of a teaching show where, you know, the host is just sharing stuff, or even if it's a pre-recorded show, so there's no opportunity necessarily to ask questions, but you can at least learn and see the content, especially if there was like 2 guests on and they're having a conversation about a specific topic, or if somebody is being interviewed about their book or about a class that they're offering or a webinar that they're doing, that sort of thing. Okay. All right. So what questions do we have here? Let me look to see if I see anything that's popped up. I don't see anything in caps as far as a specific question. Okay, I have a question. I'm not sure what this means. Another Jew. Okay, Corn Palumbo 80. I don't know what you mean, another Jew. If you're referring to me, my grandfather was Jewish, but I was raised Christian, Catholic and Christian my whole life. And if I go further back, I have Middle Eastern blood. So besides the Jewish blood, there's probably some Muslim in there along the way, which is not uncommon. But no, mostly I'm a Christian, and I'm a spiritual person who tries to aspire to the tenets of any religion or spiritual practice that is encouraging us to live our soul purpose, to shine our light, share our love, have positive impacts on the lives of others, right? So I've studied and read things from some of the Buddhist texts. I've read a lot of Jewish and Muslim texts. I've read a ton of Catholic and Christian and even Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saint materials. I've read basic old scripts about the nature spirits and people, I guess some of the pagan stuff from way back and the Native American stuff. And like I started off with the show, you know, even some of the ancient Sumerian and some of the stuff they were finding on like the Dead Sea Scrolls. I find it fascinating to study all of these different cultures and religions around the world, because I believe that there are truths that can be found, especially when you see a similar theme across many different religions, across many different cultures, especially ones that are separated by oceans and half the planet. And you look at their cave drawings or their papyrus or their scrolls, and it's the same stories. It's the similar messages about what was happening and who was teaching them and what they were experiencing. So to me, that's what's to hold on to, because I've said it before on earlier shows, excuse me, that we are all finite minds trying to understand the infinite. So it's impossible for any one religion, culture, group to get it all right. It's like if the universe we're trying to describe was a zoo, and we're on a trampoline next to the giraffe enclosure, and we can jump up and peek over the fence and see everything that's happening. And okay, I got a glimpse of it. I got it. This is what the zoo is. And you describe the whole giraffe enclosure. Okay, well, you got one small part of it, right? But you had no knowledge about what was going on in the lion den or the hippopotamus pond or the polar bear pool or right, or the snake house, right? You didn't see any of that. You had no way to have knowledge of that. So your description of what the zoo looks like was very incomplete. And so I believe, this is me, Althea, talking, that there is no religion or philosophy that's out there that is 100% accurate. It can't be, by the very nature that we are a finite mind trying to understand the infinite. You know, it's like a goldfish in a goldfish bowl trying to imagine and understand what it would be like if it was in an ocean. It's never seen a wave. It's never seen a predator fish. It's never seen coral other than what might be sitting at the bottom of its aquarium bowl, right? It's, it's like it might be able to imagine a little bit, but just think of the depths of the ocean and the vast range of experiences, that can happen out there. It would have no way to even conceive that. Right. So I think in a lot of ways, when we're trying to think about heaven or the other side of the veil or the quantum field of reality and consciousness and our role in all of that, I think we're kind of like the goldfish. We can kind of sort of imagine, we can get glimpses. I feel very blessed that spirit has parted the veil for me certain times that I've had those glimpses. I've been able to be on that trampoline and peek over the fence. But I'm also wise enough to know I'm not seeing it all. I'm just getting a little glimpse. So if I tried to write a book that says, this is what the other side of the veil is like, the truth of it, according to Althea, right? It'd be like, okay, I could really describe very well what I perceived. And it would be truthful. And it would be complete for what I saw and experienced and know. But why my experience was so limited to just that one piece of it, that there's this whole other expanse of this timeless universe that I have no knowledge of when I'm confined to this three-dimensional physical world that we're all in. And my consciousness, maybe that fourth dimension, you can explore, and experiment through time and imagine. But even with that, I can't conceive of the rest of it. I don't know what the truth of that is. And there's nobody, unless they've been there, experienced it all, and somehow come back to share the story, that can tell us. At least that's my thought. So that's, we're coming up on the hour for our show. I do hope that you enjoyed it. Please do all the nice social media things, follow, ring the bell, subscribe, share it with friends, let other people know about us, about the whole network, as well as my show in particular. My information's right down there below if you need to contact me. You want to read a little bit more about what I do and who I am and my background. That's also the place if I'm having any workshops or Zoom classes or webinars, there'll be the registration for those. Look to see a few of these things coming up in the next few months. I'm working with Chris and Mary to see what kind of fun events we can put out there for y'all at free or for very affordable prices. And I'll talk about those when those come. Your homework this week, as always, my friends, please shine your light, share your love and your spiritual gifts. Work to become the best possible version of you that you can. Be loving and kind, unconditionally forgiving of yourself and others, and do your best to have a positive impact on everyone you meet as much as you can. And I can guarantee you, if that is your top of mind, what you strive to do, you will experience great joy and peace, regardless of what else is happening in the world around you. Thank you so much for tuning into my show. I love you all. I hope that you are truly blessed in this week, that you feel more of the blessings and see more of the opportunities as you overcome and persevere through any challenges. And I look forward to talking with you all again next week. Have a blessed week. Thanks again for tuning in. And this is Althea from Spiritual Street Talk with Althea Jacob saying bye and take care. Thanks again for tuning into the show. Bye now. Okay, now I got to do this. This is the technical part. And find the outro. Okay. All right. Take care, y'all.
Coming to a YouTube channel near you.